Okay, folks, let's look at the problem 310 on page 127. It's about the polling service. Okay, so here they want to interview Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, both male and female. Okay, the cost the cost figures are given to us in the problem. It costs $10 to interview a Democrat, whereas Democrat male, it costs $12 to interview a female Democrat. Likewise, the data for Republican and Independent is given. So what we have to decide is how many male and female Democrats, Republicans, and Independents to interview to keep the cost, the total cost, which is nothing but the sum product of, now here, unlike other problems that we had done before, here we select a range. Okay, so if I were to choose 100 Democrats males here, 100 times 10, okay, and 50 if I were to choose 50 times 12. Okay, so that is, now it takes the corresponding values, okay, here, and takes the product of those and sums them up, sum product of this range, respective number and the cost figures. So minimize the total cost, okay, is what we had to do. And the next is we have the constraints, and in these constraints, let me correct the spelling there. Now in these constraints, the total interviews should be at least 4,500. Okay, now how many do we interview? So that's very high. Here I have the total. This sums up that this is total males. Okay, and likewise here it is total females. Now here it is total Democrats, both male and female together, and likewise this is the figure for Republicans, and here is for the Independents. Okay, now at least we know the total figures here. The total interviews is going to be equal to how many males, how many females, the sum of those two that we interviewed who belong to all these three categories. Okay, that's the total interviews. We want them at least to be 4,500. That's given to us in the problem. The total independent voters, that is that one. So that's where I draw the reference to. The total independent voters should at least be 1,000. And it says the total males, which is nothing but here, the total males, draw the reference to that, should be at least 2,000, and total females should at least be 1,750. That's greater than or equal to, and the number of Democrats, that is both male and female put together, I draw a reference to this, should at least be equal to 40% of the total interviews. Total interviews is what we have here, which is the sum of these two. So draw the reference back to that. 40% of the total interviewed, that's the Democrats, and likewise the total Republicans interviewed are 40% of the total interviews. Republican males should be no more than, so that is 25% of the total interviews. And the last one is that each representation, there are 6 of them here, okay, that is male-female combination, Democrats, Republican, Independent, 3 times 2, that's 6. So here what it says is that each constituent should be the number that you interviewed should at least be 10% of the total interviews. Okay, so you want at least 10% representation from each one of these categories. So let us go set it up. Solver, I had done it before here, as you can see. Minimize the total cost, and the range here is that range. Okay, that's the solution, C11 through E12. Okay, that's the range. Let me just go back and do it again here so that you can see. That's the range. Now the constraints are here. I have a group that is greater than or equal to the 4 of them. I can pass them as a group. So here the first constraint that you see is 11 through 15. C11 through E12, C11 through E12 should at least be greater than or equal to N15, which is this, that is the 10% representation. Let me do one thing. Let me kind of delete those, go back and add them up and show you. Add the constraint. The total interviews, the first 4 of them are greater than or equal to. I can pass them as a block. Should be equal to this block here. Okay, then add the constraint. The next 3 are less than or equal to. Let me pass that as the block. Add. The last constraint is that each category, that's that entire range, should at least be greater than or equal to the 10%, which is right there. Okay, which is right there. Click OK. Options, already check boxes. Click OK and solve, and it tells you here solver found a solution, condition satisfied. It says to interview exactly 4,500 for a total cost of $49,100, and gives us a breakdown of how many male Democrats, female, Republican male, female, independent male, female. That's given. Total males interviewed would be 2,750, total females 1,750, total Democrats 1,700, Republicans 1,800, and 1,000. And make sure that each category is at least 10%. You see that number here is 10% of 4,500 is 450, and that is independent males. That's what at least is. Okay, this takes care of the problem here.